Greetings everybody, this is Stevanius, Command Center Wargaming. So in this video, we'll be looking at Contekar Terminators, an elite unit choice for the Night Lords Trader Astartes faction in Horus Heresy 2.0. This is a tactical video. After using this unit multiple times in games, I thought I'd share my findings from experience to the community and anyone who's interested in playing the Horus Heresy rule set. Before we surge forward, a few things to note. This is not a Night Lords Force video. We will be doing separate videos for each Legion's army as a whole at later stages, discussing combos, lists, strengths, weaknesses, rights of wars, etc. We will also be doing in-depth tactical breakdown analysis on every single unit in the Horus Heresy. So that includes elites, HQs, troops, praetors, centurions, faction unique units, and even the exemplary battle units, the works. We'll be doing a lot. And yes, I have my Alpha Legion list coming. I'm going to put it up very soon. I just want to get this video sorted first for those of you who are requesting it. This video covers the Contekar Terminator unit in comparison to other options from the Night Lords Legion. Right? So as this is a faction-specific unit, unless you're Alpha Legion, you're only going to be able to use these of Night Lords. So we'll just be talking about comparing it within that Legion. All right? I'm not going to be talking about comparing them with Huskarls and Fire Drakes, things like that. We'll do that in another video, a Legion Terminator tier list ranking. Now, there already are a few of those on the internet, but I think they're missing a little bit of information. A lot of information, actually. But, you know, I'll give my opinion on it. We'll see how we go. I already have a Legion tier list for Age of Darkness and Zone Mortalis 2.0 on the channel, but those lists are slightly dated now and a lot can happen through the progress of the game. It has been 9 months since I put those up. Different combos, different strategies, different FAQs have come out. So I will also be redoing them. I've changed my stance on a lot of those legions. Death Guard being probably one of the most significant changes to my legion rankings. It's also important to note that the contents of this video are not in any way intended or claiming to be superior to Terror Assault, the main rite of war that's used for the Night Lords. This is a tactical video to give you an advantage over players because as great as Terror Assault is, I found that it can be very predictable in armies. And that's the thing. You know, when you go into a situation, people know that you're playing Night Lords. They are strong, but you can also be a very predictable army. I've rocked up to games and I've been like, everybody's like, okay, cool, I've got my Auspex scanners. Yeah, we're night fighting. And I've rocked up with this Contekar Terminators, you know, and everything prior to the Legion. And I'm just like, yeah, guys, well, I'm not running night fighting. So, yeah, so it can be good to actually change it up and think outside the box. So if tactical 40k and 30k videos are something that you're interested in, maybe consider subscribing to the channel because it'd be great to have you here more often. Also, let me know what units you want me to do next in the comments down below. I was thinking about doing Alpha Legion Headhunters, but I'll do them in order of demand. So it's viewer choice. Whatever you guys say down in the comments, I will do, and we'll have a vote off, and we'll get into those videos as well. So it's very important, everybody. If you want to see a specific unit covered on my channel, like for example, Invictus Suzerain, let me know, or Brutalis Dreadnoughts in 40k, let me know, because that's how I'll decide to progress with the order of my content. So without further ado, let's get into it. So Contekar Terminator Squad, what do we get? Well, a vanilla Contekar Terminator Squad comes in at a baseline point cost of 225 points, which is actually pretty decent. You get the Contekar Terminators, which have movement 7, weapon skill 5, which is massive. It's one of the most important stats for Terminators. I'll talk about that later. Ballistic skill 4, which isn't the end of the world because, you know, even though these guys have shooting, they're not primarily a shooting unit. Strength 4, toughness 4, wounds 2, which is pretty much standard for Terminators in the Horus Heresy. Initiative of 4, we have attacks 2 base, leadership 8, and a 2+ save. Now, the Dissident, otherwise known as a sergeant in other squads, will have an additional attack, so bringing him up to 3 attacks, and his leadership will be 9. The rest of the other core stats there stay the same. Now, you will get 5 models, you will get 4 Contekar Terminators, you will get 1 Dissident. You will come in with the base war gear of Taratos Terminator armor, a heavy flamer or a Volkite Cavator, and a Chainblade. Alright, they have the infantry unit type, and the Dissident has the infantry character subtype. The special rules include Legion Astartes Night Lords, right? So that obviously allows you to synergize with their Legion traits. You have Relentless, which allows you to move and shoot while firing heavy weapons. You've got Bulky 2, which is actually very big for outnumbering for the Night Lord's the Night Lord's Legion trait. You've got Chosen Warriors, which means that all models can accept and issue challenges. We'll talk about that a bit more later in the video, how important that is. And even though they don't have a 4-up save, they don't have a 3-up save, which obviously a 3-up save is going to be far superior, right, to the Taratos 5-up invulnerable save. But they do have ways to add extra protection to the unit. That's why I just feel as though there are a lot of videos out there slamming these guys, and I'm kind of like, well, have you used them actually? Or have you played with someone who's used them properly? Maybe they have, I don't know, but they've been working for me. So you've got Stubborn, which will ignore negative modifiers on pinning and morale. You've got Nords of the Night, which we'll come back to later on, which essentially lets them become a retinue for Sevatar. You've got Native Deep Strike, which is absolutely massive because there's not much in Horus Heresy 2.0 that has Native Deep Strike. Now, a lot of people will say, oh yeah, but you just put on a Warmonger and stuff like that. Well, yeah, you could, but that's going to cost you a lot of points. Here, you're getting it on the unit for free. So even if you don't want to run them, with the build I'm going to suggest, you could still run them and you still got a deep striking Terminator squad. So a lot of the times I don't think people have actually factored these points into the base cost of the unit. Chainblades as well, you'll see later on, they actually come down to be cheaper than normal Taratos. So, it's something to consider. And you get Fear 1 built in as well. Stack that with Night Fighting, right? If you so want to do the Terror Assault, if you do run them in that list, then that will stack with that as well. So, there's a lot of stuff there you're getting for that base cost. All right, don't forget as well, with Chainblades based, all your Chainblades are shredding, and your Power Fist is also shredding as well. Now, especially hiding your Dissident in a whole unit of Chosen Warriors, let's say you take a fair few of them, which you should. I usually take 7. I used to take 10, but I don't do that anymore because it's a bit overkill. So I take 7. That's a lot of wounds people got to chew through till you get to your Dissident. So just something to consider, and we'll talk about this more in the video later on. So you could take up to 10 additional Contekar Terminators at 40 points each, which means you can have a unit of 15. Now, include that with Bulky. You can add a character to that, or a few characters that you are going to be... There's not much in the game you're going to be outnumbering, right? So you're going to get your bonuses off for your Legion traits. Now, the Dissident may exchange their Chainblade for 15 points extra for an Eschaton Power Claw, which gives you shred on that as well. So, as I was saying before, Weapon Skill 5 in this edition is a massive deal. A massive deal on any unit, especially Elite Terminators, because it means you're going to be able to hit them and wound them on equal footing, right? And even sometimes having an advantage over other elite units as well. All right, it gives a certain level of resilience against basic attacks for standard units of the game as well, which additionally, again, even though you're not getting your 4-up Cataphractii save, you got to factor that up with Chosen Warriors, right, into your defensive capability of this unit. All right, now it only works in close combat, but still. So you'll also be hitting most units on 3s and other elites weapon skill 5 units on 4s, right? This mixed with Shred from their chain blades, which are breaching 6, strength +1, and also the Escalaton Power Claw, which you definitely should take, with a Murderous Strike 6. It's Shred and it's Murderous Strike 6. So I want to paint a picture. You got a Power Claw, a Power Fist, with Shred, with Murderous Strike 6. So you can basically instant death people on a 6. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, now I'll take that combo any day. These guys can be a devastating unit if you play them correctly. Okay, it's basically all in their melee. They have shooting, yes, but it's all in their melee. The shooting is just to sweeten it up. You add to that the option to take the Volkite Cavators, which are 4 shots each, strength 6 D flag stock, right? So that's on each guy. Remember, it's not 1 in 5. It's on each guy. Every single guy can take a Cavator. All right. Now, they also, unfortunately, are only effective within 10 inches away from the enemy models. All right. But remember, you do come with Deep Strike. So the way Deep Strike works in this edition, chances are you're not going to die. Chances are you're going to be able to land somewhere in range of whatever it is you want to kill. Even if you're a little bit out, you can inch towards them later and get in and get those. Well, let's say you run a 10-man unit of these, 40 strength 6 Cavator shots up with D flag. Chances are you could get that off. I've done it multiple times. All right. And the answer is very easy. I'll talk about it later. You simply do a multi-deep strike. Yes, some of your other deep striking units may come in disordered, but that's the way they do it. And at any rate, the player then needs to choose what they're going to intercept. So again, and the Contekars, yeah, sure, they only have a 5-up invul, but at least they have some invul. They can shoot and assault with heavy weapons. They are relentless. So you want them in close range anyway. So you want to be taking advantage of the native deep strike with this unit. And when you give them bloody murder, they can gain an additional attack on top of all the other attacks. So the Dissonant, for example, will come in with 3 attacks on the charge. And if they're pinned, and what causes pinning as well? Deep strike. On not only on one unit, but on the whole units around the entry point of the deep strike. So you're even getting a chance to pin them, in which case you're going to get an extra attack on top of all this. So it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. All right. So they could basically force people to do pinning checks when they come in. Now, I get the argument, so can Night Raptors, they can deep strike as well, but we'll cover that later. All right. Now, all this is great, but what's the point here? What are you here for? Well, here's the way I run them. All right. With this, I'd say they're already pretty okay. I'd say they're situational. All right. I wouldn't say they're good though. But to make them good, the trick is what you want to do. You want to run them with Sevatar. Okay. Sevatar, now you can run them as a retinue with the Lords of the Night trait that they've got. You can also run them with Sevatar in Pride of the Legion. Now, they won't be scoring. You won't be able to run them as a HQ in that, but you can still run elite units with it. Okay, but what I would do is just run other units as scoring units. You could just use normal line Terminators or something like that if you wanted to do that, because then Sevatar will allow you to deep strike them as well, or just use troops or whatever. But the point is these units, Sevatar, on the first turn that you deep strike any Terminators in, but Contekars as well, and specifically says Contekars also has a Taratos keyword, you get preferred enemy everything for the first turn that these guys come in. Everything. Vehicles, the lot. Now, here's the thing. You're already strong versus vehicles anyway as Night Lords if you're outnumbering. People go on about Iron Warriors and stuff like that being so powerful with their ranged attacks because, you know, certain weapons will give a +1 hit on armor and stuff like that. Well, guys, here's the thing with Night Lords. You can put a las cannon squad in and you get that anyway with Night Lords, right? As long as you're outnumbering because you're still +1 to wound anyway with Night Lords. But the main thing is this preferred enemy thing with the Contekar Terminators. Now, this is what I saw, how I found out about this. I was going through the rule book and I was kind of just looking at all the units. My mate said to me, oh, look, mate, you know, you should get into Night Lords. I'm like, oh, no, I don't want to paint lightning. F that. But then I saw this rule here and I saw the preferred enemy on the 4 shots each, strength 6 on the Cavators. I didn't even think about the melee at the time. And I was like, oh my God. And I remembered back to the Alfarius Volkite Cavalier days when I used to run the heavy support squad with the heavy Volkites 4 shot each with preferred enemy. And it was devastating. I'd spew out 40 shots. Now, admittedly, that was all game, right? You can still do that with Alfarius now. It's only once per game, once per battle round. But still, once per turn. But still, this is once per turn. But it is devastating. So, on top of the hitting on 3s, on top of the wounding mostly on 2s with shred from your chain blade, if you outnumber, okay, because of the Legion rules, all right, you're going to, and the shred, you're going to be re-rolling all the 1s preferred enemy as well. So it's pretty nuts, actually. And if you really wanted to make this nuts, you could put a chaplain in with them. And, I just don't understand why people slam this unit. These guys come in, they deep strike in, they cause pinning, which means it could actually take units out of the game. They shoot 40 shots or 30 shots, however many you're running, or 20 shots, strength 6, deflagging, preferred enemy, re-rolling the 1s, re-rolling the hits most likely with the chaplain as well when you get into melee for hatred. Then you're shredding through there. You get your power claw. You issue challenges, so you already can take thunder hammers and stuff on characters out of play. Because you might go up against immortals, say, right? The sergeant has a thunder hammer. The rest of the squad's got jack crap. The thunder hammer's the thing that's going to take you out. So you've got chosen warriors. You issue a challenge. The other player accepts. They have to use their thunder hammer guy. With the sergeant, and then that's it. If they can't accept the challenge, well, you just choose, and that gives your dissident more protection to be able to smash things with his Eschaton power claw with shred. All right, so it's very, very, very powerful. Just important to note, though, with that said, that if you do run them like this, one of the drawbacks is that they can't actually be attached to Sevatar. So they'll be in the same slot, but you can't actually put Sevatar attached to that unit. He's basically, they've got to be basically separate from him. All right, so that's very important to note as well, to take advantage of this combo. But really, it's not the biggest of deals, to be honest. And the thing is you're probably better off putting Sevatar somewhere else or someone else, having these guys come down separate with like a chaplain or something like that for the rerolls, and have Sevatar going for another objective while these guys flank the back lines, right? So they're really good at destroying units, especially good at destroying units up the backfield. As I say, heavy support squads, guys manning artillery, things like that, or just creating a distraction and throwing your enemy off guard, helping to break up that predictability of the Night Lords. All right, so, and as I said before, the talent for murder combines really, really well with the bulky 2 rules, right? It really helps you outnumber. So, really, guys, if you have a 10-man unit that's going to class as 22 bodies, you put another Terminator in there, so say like a chaplain, that's already 22 bodies. And then if you wanted, you could put a Medicae in there. I'm not sure if I would do this though, but you could. And you'd be at 24 bodies. So it's really, really easy to outnumber with these guys, which plays right into the Legion special rules as well. Or you could even up that. You could run a squad of 15. But in all honesty, I'd say personally, for me, that'd be a little bit much to run 15. Honestly, 7 is enough. Give 7 a go. Because the problem is, any more than 7, when you do get into close combat, chance, like say you're in Zone Mortalis, something like that, chances are you're not all going to be in range to attack. They don't have the skirmish subtype as well, I believe. So yeah, they're going to have unit coherency issues and stuff. So best to run 7 to 10. 10 max if it's like an AOD. 7 max if it's a Zone Mortalis. So, fantastic, guys. Let's talk about some other advantages of the unit. So, look, native deep strike, hands down, right here, right now, is very massive in this version of the game. All right? And it's really massive for Night Lords because, as I said before, you're dealing with coming down in a deep strike and you're dealing with causing a mass pinning test. All right? Now, that's coming down in a radius from your deep strike. This also means that not only the unit you intend to eradicate, but also other units around you that you might want to target with your army are also going to need to take pinning checks. You know, so you could effectively, let's say if you deep strike these guys and, yeah, there's like 4 other units around or 3 other units around. You know, you could potentially pin other units, so you might have another units of Night Raptors wanting to put them in another squad, and then bam, they're pinned already because these guys have come down. Right? Or you might just be attacking them with standard troops or Terminators, and you might get a bonus pinning with that, which is going to give you an additional attack from bloody murder. Okay, so I call it collateral pinning, basically. All right, and this basically gives the Contekar another out-of-the-box perk, which I think people miss. I haven't really heard this mentioned in any of the other videos, to be honest. So look, there are ways to grant pinning and stuff, you know, with artifacts and stuff like that and relics. All right, you can chuck roto cannons on command squads and things like that. Yes, I understand, but they don't often work too well. There's better weapons to put on the Terror squads anyway, you know, but we'll get into that in the Terror Squad video. We'll also talk a little bit about comparing them to other units a little bit later. So, the Eschaton Power Claw on your Dissident is also essentially a Power Fist with Shred with Murderous Strike, as we've discussed. And you can also double out units with this Power Fist. You're going to get 3 attacks base. Right, that's not even including the preferred enemy or the rerolls from that, okay, or the +1 for the charge or +1 for bloody murder. So it's pretty crazy. Power Fist, you know, with weapon skill 5, with Shred, hidden behind, you know, units behind Chosen Warriors. Look, it's still not 5 Thunderhammers, right, or 5 Solarite Power Gauntlets, but what is? So, I mean, I feel as though that's pretty much enough said right there. I don't know what much more these guys could have. Like, maybe a 3-up invol, you know, but like, aside from that, they've already got a fair bit with the preferred enemy. And I really feel that this is a good unit. You know, is it elite? Is it god tier? Heck no, not a chance. But I think it's good unit if if used situationally and strategically. All right, so let's talk about some of the arguments against the unit. Some of the things I've heard online, some people I've heard whinging about, you know, why they don't take them, things like that. I'll comment a little bit about it, see if we can just discuss these. So the first argument I hear about the Contekar Terminators is they're too expensive in points. Well, I kind of covered this already a little bit. Basically, they're actually pretty well costed considering what you get. So again, if one factors in the fact that they get Nostraman Chainblades included in their points, right? And then they also get the Caviators, the four shot strength 6 Volkite guns, which usually would cost, even more points if that was a heavy support squad, right? No, we don't have 10-inch version in the standard heavy support squad line up there for war gear, but we can compare that to the base cost, right? So, it's still going to be all up like over 30 points extra, okay? If you were to put that on a heavy support squad. All right. Then they've got the built-in deep strike rule, which is rare as, right? So you add that on there. So you got to think about how many points you got there. Now, a standard Terminators Terminator comes in about 30 points without add-ons. All right. Just with a squad of 10, remembering that, Contekar reward us, or Horus Heresy rewards us for taking more units. It gives us cheaper points. A standard Contekar Terminator would come in base at 45 points. Okay? And they already get all the Terminators stats baked in. The 5+ invul, the ability to sweep in advance, etc., etc. Okay? The ability to run. Alright? So they are pretty fast even. Right? You compare that already to a Terminators. When you factor in the cost of the chain blades alone, before you even add the Caviators on that, and you look at all the additional stuff you get for the points cost. Well, normal Terminators take elite squad as well. Oh yeah, but Terminators can take Thunderhammers. Yeah, well, they can, but you're probably better off putting those Thunderhammers on Cataphracti anyway. Yeah, I mean, I feel as though they're really a bit of a bargain, really, in certain situations. And the only thing is that, yes, the reaction system can, affect, people can escape them coming in, but that's true for a lot of things in the game. So I don't think that's massive enough of a negative to put him in the bin, basically, just from that. And we need to have some weaknesses on the unit. Not everything could be a Huskal. Not everything could be a Fire Drake. You need to have some differences between power. The other one that I hear quite a bit is deep striking is too dangerous now. Well, here's the thing. We touched on this a little bit before, but you don't have to deep strike them. You could put them in transports, right? You're probably not going to want to put these guys on the board. There's better units to start off defending objectives than these. You do definitely want them up there, right? But remember, you still get the ability to deep strike without Sevatar or not. So it's just good to have that option there, whether you use it or not. Right? And if the player does use augury scanners, you can mitigate this out a bit by using snipers to take them out of the squads before you bring them on. So chances are you could snipe these guys out a bit, okay, before the augury scanners come into play. And a lot of the time as well, if the players don't know your list, they're all expecting you to run bloody Terror Assault anyway. They're not expecting you to run Contekar because everyone on the internet's bloody said they're crap, right? So you get a little bit of a surprise bonus. So look, the thing is, Night Lords are a surgical army. They're not like Iron Hands or Imperial Fists where you can just fire and forget, right? You don't just roll the dice and benefit with them, all right? And if you're worried about failing your deep strike, put in a Master of Signals. That's going to allow you to re-roll your reserve roll to bringing them in. And in actual fact, with any list that's deep striking, including Alpha Legions, we'll talk about them later, I highly recommend putting a Master of Signals in as an auto include anyway, because they just bring so much to your army. You assign them to a las cannon heavy support squad. You give them plus ballistic skill, and you get the bonuses to the striking as well. All right, but yeah, Night Lords are a thinking legion. You have to actually think to play them. They're a little bit like the Alpha Legion. They're a little bit more aggressive than the Alpha Legion, but they're just not a fire forget like Iron Hands or Imperial Fist are. Okay, now the other thing that I've heard, all right, is that their rules don't synergize well with night fighting, okay? So I haven't heard this much, but I do sort of agree with this a little bit, okay? It's probably their number one substantial drawback, if I'm honest. And it's not even that big. So, look, as the unit is a close range unit, all right, it's forcing you to sort of negate that range difference, that your bonus that you're getting from night fighting, you know, as opposed to being far away and taking advantage of that. But again, you could wait with them, bring them in mid-game when night fighting ends. So that's not a big deal either, right? And look, on the plus side, you got Fear, which if you are running night fighting and you do bring them in, it doesn't stack, the Fear will stack with night fighting, even though you'll be close range. Again, it's just a really good way to sort of muck around with your player and throw them off guard, because they'll expect you to do one thing and you're going to do another thing as well. The other one that I see coming up a bit, and don't get me wrong, like, I empathize, I understand why people are upset with it, and, you know, it is wrong that Forge World did this, but, you know, that was a while ago, everybody. We need to sort of move on from it and just accept it and move on. And I call this the whole Anuj touched them in a bad place factor, because, you know, Forge World released these when everyone else wanted Atramentar Terminators many years ago, right? And look, I do agree that sucks, but that fact doesn't transfer to their performance on the tabletop. And I think it's very important that, you know, we keep things about the data and about the stats and not be emotional and basically, you know, have those external factors come into performance. And look, as I understand it, you know, the Contekar were actually a sub-faction elite of the Atramentar lore-wise anyway, so they were like elite within elite. So, you know, make that of that as you will. All right, but let me know in the comments down below what you think about that. I know it is a thing for people, but I don't think you shouldn't play this unit just off that fact alone. I mean, look, I'll be honest, guys. I'm not here to rag on other channels and things like that, but I was watching this one channel the other day, and usually I have really good videos and stuff, and like all their analysis on all the legions are pretty good actually. And they were one of the first channels to, like, you know, put the Raven Guard up there, you know, and which I agree with. I know a lot of people disagree with me about the Raven Guard because they say they have overlapping rules and stuff, which they do have overlapping rules. But to me, the fact that they have that many overlapping rules and they are that freaking good still is even more of a testament that Raven Guard are freaking godly. You know? But anyway, so that channel, they go through me and they're like, oh, this is good. Oh, this is strong. This is good. Like, they're even talking about, you know, like the melee ultramarine guys, you know, on the jump packs and that come in. Name slips me off the top of my head right now, everybody. I'm sorry. But basically, this video is not about that. So, you know, but basically just generic units, and they'll sit there going, oh, this is good. Oh, this is good. Oh, this is strong. And then they get to the Contekar Terminators, and they're literally like, I don't like this unit. I don't like this unit. This unit touched me in the wrong place. Oh, and ragging on it for literally 2 minutes, and then they move on. It's the only unit, and then they brought up that whole Anuj thing that we wanted the Atramentar. Literally, the only unit that so far that I've heard them slam in the game in Horus Heresy 2.0. And that's why I just think this is worth mentioning, because, like, there are channels that have covered it well as well. Don't get me wrong, and a lot of them have, right? But, you know, a lot of the other channels, I just don't think they're giving these guys justice, which is why I decided to do them as my first video in Tactica and Horus Heresy. So the next argument I hear is, oh, they're in Taratos armor. Well, you know what? Yeah, it sucks to only have a 5-up invul, but you can run as well, which helps to bring them in line over other units like Night Raptors, makes them a bit faster. You know, I understand that in Horus Heresy version 1 as well, it didn't specify that they must be in Tartaros. You could actually choose to take them in Cataphracti. So like the Atramentar didn't. I think actually the Atramentar should have been in Cataphracti, to be honest. I'll talk about them in another video. They kind of let me down a bit because of the weapon skill 4. There are some things about them though, but you know, we'll talk about that in another video. But yeah, look, not everything can have a 4+ invul, guys. Right? They've got it with all these rules inbuilt. They get their buffs. They just get it in another way. Now, the other thing I've heard of as well is that, you know, when put side by side by the other Night Lords elite choices like Terror Squads and Night Raptors, they're just crap because, you know, the other units can do all the stuff that they can do. Well, I agree, but I also disagree. So I'll do a very quick comparison here of the two. And again, I'll be covering these two units on their own in other videos, but I think it's only fair if I'm going to make that argument, I'm going to explain my points to back up my claims. Night Raptors. Let's talk about Night Raptors first, okay? So yes, the Raptors do end up with more attacks overall, okay, through their jump packs. Right, because the jump packs, they give them extra Hammer of Wrath attacks and things like that. They also cause pinning if you choose to bring them in with Deep Strike. All right, they also can have 1 melter per 5 models, which is actually very good. It's probably one of the best things I find about that unit, if I'm honest. The biggest problem I have with the Night Raptors is that, yeah, they're fast, but I would rather some durability than a little bit of melter. I actually first started building Night Raptors as my main elite squad until I found the Contekar Terminators. I then compared the stats, and then now the Night Raptors are over there waiting to get done, and I've finished off a 10-man squad of the Contekar. So the thing is as well with the Night Raptors is that, you know, aside from all their attacks, they don't have any invul at all. Okay? And all your units only have a 3-up freaking armor save. Okay? The Contekar Terminators have a 2-up armor save on base. So that's already better like that. Now, even the Dark Furies in the Raven Guard, they're able to take the Sergeants with Artificer Armor, which gives them a 2-up standard armor save. The Night Raptors, you don't get it. So I would argue that with this unit, if you're going to Deep Strike this unit, then you're going to lose a lot more from interception, okay, or other factors like reactions or Overwatch or whatever, coming down with only a 3-up armor save and no invul than what you would with a Contekar squad. The other thing is, it's like, oh, okay, but yeah, I don't have to Deep Strike them then. You know, they're fast. They're faster. I'll just drive them. Well, then you're not going to get them there like where you want them straight away, are you? So they're not that fast then, are they? Because with the Contekar Terminators, I can have them relatively within 10 inches striking distance straight away. You know? So, but with Night Raptors, I'm going to have to, you know, bring them up a turn or two. Because even with jump packs, you know, there's nothing like a Deep Strike. Yeah, sure, you can like fly them up. They'll get their turn 2 or turn 3. Well, I suppose you can't bring in reinforcements till turn 2 anyway. But you see my point that the Night Raptors, they lose a bit of the speed once you sort of take that into consideration. Both these units have bulky, yes. So that's one thing that they're equal with. And both units can also take the Nostraman Chain Blades. All right. The Night Raptors do get skirmish, so they will probably get more attacks in. But again, if you're after durability and in your face, the Night Raptors are just going to drop. Right? The thing is with Contekar Terminators, you know, they might actually survive for you to use them another turn. You know, that's the thing. So, all right. So, Terror Squads. So, Terror Squads can infiltrate. They don't have Deep Strike, so you won't be able to get that pinning from the Terror Squads, like of a base. Yes, you can take the artifact, which will cause pinning, but then you're going to put your HQ on it. Okay. Now, they do have preferred enemy, but again, if you put the Contekar with Sevatar, then you're going to get that anyway. The Terror Squads as well only have 1 wound. The Contekars have 2 wounds. Okay. And because they don't have the bulky special rule, like the Night Raptors and the Contekar Terminators, it's going to be harder to outnumber with them, although you can take up to 15, I believe, as well. All right. As we discussed, the rotor cannons, yeah, you can do that to get your pinning off, but it doesn't quite work as well. You need to have almost a whole unit of rotor cannons in a squad of Terror Squads to effectively guarantee a pin. I'd personally rather take the Volkite on the Terror Squad and, get the pinning off some other way, or even have the Strength 6 Volkite, from the Contekar Terminators. So I feel as though the Contekar Terminators, they still have a lot of, logistical flexibility over both those units, or equal to, with mixing range firepower and melee, also the Chosen Warriors rules. All right, and they have durability and survivability on top. Okay, so yeah. So look, in conclusion, guys, to wrap it up, all right, Contekar Terminators, no, they are not an S tier or godly Terminator. They are not on the same footing as Fire Drakes, Huskulls, Ragnar Terminators. And some would argue Morlocks. They're pretty good, but we'll talk about that in another video. They're not at that level. All right, but with the arguments that I've put within the 4, I hope you could see that they are a situationally viable unit, and they are a good unit if played to a surgical, strategic methodology and with some intelligence and strategy placed within your playstyle. Right? They're not a unit that you can just throw in front of people. You have to be clever with them. Okay? You run them with Sevatar and they become really, really good. I would say these guys are good. They have both range, they have melee, but yes, you need to get up close. Surgical strikes, they're definitely a viable unit, in my opinion, in any Night Lord army. But they are situational. But they're good situational. They're not bad situational. Not everything can double out a Custode. Alright? Not everything can be a Huskull Terminator in the game, or we lose variation in the game. And a lot of the strategic elements of the game. So they do fit in with the Night Lord's playstyle though. And yeah, they lack some heavy weapons, by the ranged heavy weapons for taking on bigger targets. But you've got other units for that. You've got Dreadnoughts of Meltar. You've got heavy support squads of Meltar or las cannons. There are other ways you could get that into your army. All right. So look, if you enjoyed the video, everybody, all right, please like, subscribe, comment, and share the video, because it will really help the channel grow. And don't forget to drop a comment down below in the video description letting me know what unit you want me to do a tactical analysis of next. Stevanius, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care, guys. Keep wargaming.